I still remember that afternoon in the break room. I'd forgotten my phone on the counter and came back to get it. That's when I heard them. Yeah, she's smart, Luke said, laughing. But she'd crash and burn without us. She's not a real founder. Marissa giggled. Let her think she's running the show. She's too busy coding to notice anything anyway. I stood frozen. My chest tightened like I'd been slapped. These were the people I trusted, the ones I skipped sleep for. I'd poured everything into our startup, while they went to networking parties and took all the credit. At first, I told myself I misunderstood, that maybe they were just joking, but I started seeing the signs. Investor emails I wasn't copied on, decisions made without me, my name slowly disappearing from pitch decks. Then came the paperwork. They told me it was just a routine update. I didn't read it carefully, I was exhausted. 2 weeks later, I found out I was no longer listed as a co-founder. No equity, no role, nothing. They didn't even fire me face to face, just a cold email from HR. I disappeared for a while. I moved out of my apartment, crashed on my cousin's couch, and went silent online. I felt stupid, broken, like they were right. I couldn't do this alone. But every night, while they thought I was gone, I was building. I rewrote the code from scratch. I stayed up learning everything they said I couldn't understand. Fundraising, branding, launch strategy. I built a better product under a new name. It took time, a lot of quiet pain, but people found my work. They loved it. An angel investor messaged me. He believed in me. This time, I didn't share the credit with anyone. Yesterday, I walked into the coffee shop we used to work from. Luke was there, magazine in hand. My face was on the cover. He looked up, eyes wide. I didn't say a word, just smiled, picked up my drink, and left. Let them choke on their overpriced espresso. I'm not the girl they left behind. I'm the woman who came back and built an empire, alone. We started the company in Luke's garage, 3 of us packed around a broken coffee table. It felt exciting, like the kind of startup story you read about in blogs. I did most of the work, but I didn't mind. Luke had the charm for pitching. Marissa knew how to talk to people and make things look good online. I had the skills. I could build. We were friends from college. I trusted them. I stayed up every night, writing code, fixing bugs, figuring out how to make our idea real. I read every guide, watched every video, and made it work piece by piece. Meanwhile, Luke was sending out cold emails to investors, and Marissa was posting motivational quotes on our social media like "success is a mindset" and "work smarter, not harder." They talked like founders. I worked like one. I lived on ramen and coffee, sold my old laptop just to cover rent one month. There were nights I cried into my keyboard, wondering if this was worth it. But then we got our first user, then 10, then 100, and suddenly, investors were paying attention. Luke was the one who spoke at the meetings, but it was my product they were clapping for. When we got our first real offer, pre-seed money, I thought it was finally paying off. We signed some documents quickly, all of us. I barely read mine. I just felt grateful. I didn't realize what I'd signed away. The meetings kept going. More investors, more hype. The platform grew, but I started noticing things. They started making plans without me, talking in whispers when I walked in. Investor calls I wasn't invited to. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then one morning, I logged into our dashboard. My account was locked. I checked my email. Nothing from Luke, nothing from Marissa. Just one message from a legal address. Effective immediately, you are no longer part of company name. As per your agreement, all IP and contributions belong to the company. I called. No one picked up. I texted, left voicemails. Luke finally messaged back. It's not personal. We had to make hard decisions for the company's future. That was it. They'd quietly changed the documents months ago, shifting all rights and roles without telling me. By the time I noticed, it was too late. The company I helped build, the idea I brought to life, it was no longer mine. They had stolen my dream and called it theirs. I was replaced overnight, like I never existed. They sent the NDA the day after they kicked me out. It was over 20 pages, filled with legal terms I barely understood. I asked for time to read it. They said I didn't have time. Sign it or lose everything. Luke warned over the phone. We're offering you a clean break. I was scared. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have money for one. I just had rent due, an empty fridge, and a sinking feeling in my stomach. So I signed. The document said I couldn't talk about what happened, couldn't claim any shares, couldn't even say I had worked on the product. If I spoke out, I could be sued. The silence felt like a second betrayal. At first I thought I could move on, but the job market was brutal. Every company wanted proven startup experience. I couldn't prove anything. My name wasn't on anything. Meanwhile, Luke and Marissa were everywhere. They did interviews, wrote LinkedIn posts about building with integrity and valuing every team member. They even tagged me in one, called me a brilliant early contributor who had moved on to explore other opportunities. That post got hundreds of likes. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't comment, couldn't reply, couldn't tell the truth. I had signed that damn NDA. My savings vanished fast. I sold my furniture, stopped answering texts. I was ashamed. I couldn't tell my parents, couldn't explain to friends what really happened. I applied for jobs, but my heart wasn't in it. I was tired all the time. Some days, I didn't get out of bed. I kept thinking about the company, the thing I built from scratch, and how they were getting rich off of it, while I was barely surviving. And worst of all, a small part of me still wondered if they were right. Maybe I did need them. Maybe I wasn't enough on my own. That thought was the hardest to shake. They hadn't just taken my company, they'd taken my voice. I moved in with my cousin Mila after I ran out of options. She didn't ask many questions, just gave me a pillow and said, "Crash here as long as you need." Her place was small, and I slept on a futon in the corner of her one-bedroom apartment. At night, I stared at the ceiling, wondering how I'd gone from co-founder to nothing. But after a week of lying around, something clicked. I couldn't stay like this. I had to do something. So I opened my laptop. Mila had an old desk in her closet. It barely fit my computer and a cracked mug of tea. I sat up there. It was quiet, cramped, and perfect. I didn't want anyone to know what I was doing, not even her. I didn't want pity. I wanted revenge. I started with blank code file, no template, no shortcuts, just raw, sleepless work. I began building the same product I'd created for the company, but this time I made it better, faster, cleaner. I removed all the bloated features they'd added after I left. I simplified the interface. I added tools users had asked for, but we'd ignored. This version was mine. I used a fake name, Knox. No real photo, no background info, just a simple GitHub page and a Twitter account with an owl as the profile picture. I didn't want attention. I just wanted to release something good and see if people noticed. They did. It started slow. One person started the GitHub repo, then a few more. Someone posted about it on Reddit. A small Discord community formed. People weren't just using it, they were talking about it like it mattered. I've been waiting for a tool like this for months. Who is Knox? This feels too polished to be a one-person project. That one made me smile. I didn't respond. I just kept building, fixing bugs, shipping updates, adding features I'd always wanted to implement back at the company but never got approval for. At night, Mila would think I was sleeping, but I'd be in the closet, hoodie on, fingers flying over the keyboard, heart racing. I hadn't felt this alive in months. I wasn't doing it for money yet, or fame. I just needed to know I still had it in me, that I wasn't some washed-up ghost of a founder. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I believed I could win. It started with a DM. At first, I thought it was a joke. The message was short. "Hey, this tool is impressive. Ever thought about taking it further? Let's talk." Sent by someone named Leo R. I clicked his profile. Not much there. Just a few posts about clean design, startup rants, and the occasional meme. But one tweet stood out. It was a thread calling out fake founders who ride on the backs of actual builders. That hit a little too close. I replied, careful with my words. "Thanks. Just a personal project for now." He messaged back fast. "I've been in tech for 10 years. I can tell when something has real potential. And this? It's better than half the VC-backed junk out there." We set up a video call. I almost didn't join. I hadn't shown my face online in months, but something told me to go for it. When I turned on my camera, he raised his eyebrows. "You're Knox?" "Yeah. Name's actually Ava." His smile disappeared for a second. Then came a pause. "Wait, Ava Tran?" I nodded. He leaned back and laughed. "You built that platform, the one your co-founders ruined. You know them?" I asked, feeling my chest tighten. "Too well," he said, with a grin that wasn't friendly. "They pitched to me once. Luke talks too much. Marissa thought a tech stack was a new kind of coffee. I passed." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Instead, I just told him everything. He listened, then said, "You don't need them. You never did. Let's build something better, together." That was the start of Nightingale. Leo wired the seed money within a week. I registered the company under my name, only mine. We built a brand, set up a clean site, and started moving fast. He handled strategy and legal. I stayed focused on product. I never said the old company's name, but Nightingale was designed to replace them. And soon, people were starting to notice. We launched on a random Tuesday morning. No ads, no press, just a tweet, a clean landing page, and a quiet email to a few developer forums. I didn't expect much, just hoped someone would click. They did. Within hours, sign-ups started rolling in. Developers shared it with each other. Designers loved the clean interface. A few influencers even mentioned it in their hidden tools lists. One YouTuber called it the simplest, most useful platform I've used in years. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there refreshing the dashboard, watching the numbers grow. Every new user felt like a small piece of myself coming back. We called the platform Nightingale. Quiet, fast, beautiful, built to help people who were tired of bloated tools and fake promises. It was everything I wished we'd made the first time, without compromise. A week later, Leo called laughing. "You won't believe this," he said. "They're at Burning Man." "Who?" "Your ex-co-founders. They posted some cringy photo of themselves in matching silver jumpsuits. Meanwhile, their user base is shrinking by the hour." I checked. He was right. Their site traffic had dipped. People were talking about it on Reddit. Anyone else jump ship to Nightingale? Feels like what the old platform wanted to be. I didn't say a word publicly, but I read every comment. I knew every username. I'd worked for this moment, line by line, night by night, alone in that closet. Then one night, I got a message. It was from an anonymous email. No name, just a few words. "Is this you?" Attached was a screenshot of Nightingale's homepage. My work, my code, my design. I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't reply, but I knew who it was from. Only a few people ever saw my work that closely. Only one of them ever understood the way I wrote code like fingerprints. It was someone from the old team, someone who realized they were losing users, and they didn't know why, but I did. Because while they were out there taking selfies in the desert, I was here, quiet, focused, and building something real. And the world was finally starting to see it. The email came late at night. I almost missed it. Subject line, keynote invitation, Future Founders 2025. At first, I thought it was spam, but when I opened it, I read the words twice just to be sure. They wanted me, to open the biggest startup conference of the year. Future Founders was the place where big names were made. Every year, thousands of people attended. Founders, VCs, tech reporters, all packed into one giant event. They said they'd seen Nightingale, said they loved what it stood for, said they wanted a story that felt real. I said yes. When I landed at the conference, I saw it, my face on a banner hanging over the main entrance. Ava Tran, founder, Nightingale, keynote speaker. I stood there staring at it, heart racing. Then I got a text from Leo. "You'll want to know. Guess who tried to sponsor this year?" He sent a screenshot. It was my old company. Their request had been declined. I almost laughed. Backstage, I waited with my hands shaking. The lights dimmed. My name was called. I walked out onto the stage, thousands of eyes watching me. I took a breath, stepped up to the mic, and started. I wasn't supposed to be here. In fact, I was told, more than once, that I wouldn't make it on my own. I told them everything. Not names, not details, just the truth. About building something, losing it, starting over, alone. About closets and cold coffee and quiet revenge. People clapped. Then they stood. The next morning, I woke up to thousands of notifications. My follower count tripled. News outlets called. Podcasters wanted interviews. Founders messaged me, saying I'd inspired them. I wasn't just back, I was seen. I was making coffee when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Luke," the voice said before I could say anything. "We have a problem." I froze. It was Eric Grant, the investor who backed our old startup, one of the big ones. He sounded tense, rushed, like someone who hadn't slept in days. "Our numbers are tanking," he went on. "We've lost 20% of our users in a month. Customers are pissed. Support tickets are exploding. What the hell is going on over there?" I stayed quiet. He kept talking, too fast to notice the silence. "You said this platform was solid. You promised me retention would hold after the redesign. Now it looks like the damn thing's being gutted from the inside. Competitors eating us alive. Have you seen this? Nightingale? Whoever's running that is killing us." My hands shook a little. I leaned against the counter, heart pounding. He sighed. Anyway, I need a plan, Luke. A real one. Call me back when you've got something better, then we'll figure it out. I'm not losing more money on this circus. There was a pause. He finally noticed. Hello. I cleared my throat. Hi, Eric. Silence. Then he said carefully, Who is this? This is Ava, I said. Ava Tran. Dead quiet. Then a small sound. A half laugh, like someone trying to swallow his surprise. I must have misdialed, he said quickly. I know who you thought you were calling. Another long pause. He didn't say anything. I smiled slightly, even though he couldn't see it. And yes, I added, I've seen Nightingale. Then I hung up. I stood there for a minute, letting it sink in. The investor who once looked through me, the team who erased me, the product they thought they could run without me. Now they were the ones scrambling, and I was the one on the other end of the line, listening in silence. It felt like something had finally shifted, like the world had turned all the way around. The email came from a law firm I didn't recognize. Subject, Notice of Legal Action. They were suing me. Luke and Marissa claimed I had stolen code, design, and confidential strategies from our old startup. Said Nightingale was a copy of their product. Said I'd violated the NDA. I laughed for a moment. Then I got to work. I pulled up my backups. Years of saved Git commits, timestamps, version logs, code I wrote line by line, long before we even had an office. I had proof of everything, including the day they quietly removed my name from the repo. Then came the Slack messages. I had exported the old chat history just before they locked me out. They forgot, or didn't think I would, but I had it. Dozens of messages showing exactly who built what, when, and how. Messages from them praising my work, asking for help, sending bugs for me to fix. Leo's legal team put together a response so sharp, it practically cut through their claim in a single letter. Then someone leaked it. Screenshots hit Twitter. Tech blogs picked it up. One headline read, Startup sues ex-co-founder, gets schooled by her own Git logs. The comments were brutal. People weren't just on my side. They were cheering. The old team became a joke online. Someone even made a meme. Luke and Marissa standing behind a burning laptop with the caption, Fired the golden goose. Now wondering why there are no eggs. Their users left in droves. Most of them came to Nightingale. The lawsuit quietly disappeared 2 weeks later. No apology, just silence. But I didn't need their words. I had my receipts. And now, everyone else did too. 6 months later, everything looked different. I had a real office now. A team. Investors who respected me. Nightingale was growing fast. Faster than I'd ever imagined. We were hiring, expanding, winning awards. But the thing that hit the hardest? The magazine. Founder Center photographer did a full interview and put my story on the cover. Ava Tran, the solo founder who outsmarted them all. They printed my face in bold, sharp colors. Right under a quote. They said I'd never make it. So I did it without them. I picked up a copy at the bookstore just to hold it in my hands. It didn't feel real, but there it was. My name, my face, my story. I didn't plan to go to that coffee shop. I was just walking by. The one we used to work from in the early days. The place they whispered behind my back. But something made me stop. I pushed the door open and walked in. The smell hit me first. Coffee beans, burnt toast, old memories. Then I saw him, Luke, sitting by the window, hunched over his laptop. Same seat he always picked. He looked older, tired, hair messy, shirt wrinkled, a half-finished latte in front of him. He was reading. I blinked. He was holding Founder. The page was open to my face. He looked up and froze, like a ghost had walked in. His mouth parted, but nothing came out. I just smiled. Hey, Luke, I said calmly. Told you I'd make it. He didn't respond. I walked to the counter, ordered a tea, and waited. No big scene, no drama, just silence. He stared at the magazine, then at me, like he was still trying to understand how this happened, how I ended up here while everything around him had crumbled. I took my drink, turned, and left. As the door closed behind me, I felt the weight lift, not because I'd proved him wrong, but because I'd finally stopped needing. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.